Hello, I'm Frost, and welcome to another Alliance Spotlight. In this episode, I have a very, very different alliance, which is Eve Scout Enclave, which is also associated to Signal Cartel. This particular alliance provides so many services to so many players in New Eden, and I'm sure you're going to find it very, very interesting in terms of what they do. And there's actually a couple of things that I found out that I wasn't aware of before. So before we jump in, I'm going to just tell you who I have as my guests. I have Katia Sae, who is now the CEO since the middle of March 2021. And then I have Aldar Roanaok, I think I pronounced that correctly, who's been the Chief Operations Officer since mid-March and was the recruitment manager in Eve Scout before that. It's worth mentioning that Katia Sae is actually in the Guinness Book of World Records for visiting all 7,805 solar systems in New Eden without a single combat loss. And there's a PC Gamer article that I'll link in the description if you want to know more about that. But anyway, time to jump in for our interview. So, Katia and Aldar, thank you very much for coming on Alliance Spotlight.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. Super. Well, I'm really delighted to have you guys on because up until now, most of the spotlights I've been doing have been actually on sort of kind of nullsec alliances. And you guys have such a different playstyle, and it's pretty much unique, I would say, within EVE Online. And so I really wanted to kind of highlight that with this particular show. So let me start off with, we have Eve Scout and then we have Signal Cartel. And both names are kind of used sort of interchange between the two. So can you give me a bit of description of what these are and how they relate to each other?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And you're right, it is very confusing. We are referred to as Eve Scout. That's probably where our reputation started. And then over the last few years, probably Signal Cartel has been heard a lot more. So interchangeably, we are one and the same. It started with the RIA expansion in December of 2014, where Johnny Splunk, who's one of our founders, decided that he wanted to make the Thera system accessible to all. And so he started Eve Scout, which was a corporation at the time, and he hired independent explorers to map out the connections in and out of Thera, and he provided them on a website for all to use. And that really is where our service as a corporation began.
Okay, because I thought you guys started with the Eve Scout, with the rescue side, but it's actually the Thera side was the actual starting point.
Thera's,
okay,
yeah.
Okay, and obviously the Thera side, I'm going to show on the screen now that the website, and it shows where all the connections are to the Thera wormholes, and so the Thera wormhole, Thera space, should I say? Let me get my naming convention right. But also now, I need to add as well, right, that it's available as online bookmarks.
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct. Yeah, with the introduction of the shareable bookmarks, was that last year, Alder?
Yes.
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah.
Yep, we started making those available as well. So if you go to our Eve-Scout channel in game, in the message of the day, there'll be a link to those, and you can just go in and out of there as you please.
Okay, so super. So obviously there may be some players that are not that familiar with Thera, that are new players. Do you want to give us a little bit of description of what Thera's about?
Sure. With the introduction of the Thera expansion, they introduced Thera and the shattered wormholes, which are lore-wise, I don't know if I could tell you too much about them, but if you go to those systems, they have a lot of sites in them. They have a lot of connections in them. Thera connects to all over New Eden, and so it kind of become a crossroads, if you will, to the rest of New Eden.
So it's kind of like the master wormhole,
right?
The big daddy of wormholes.
The big daddy. Yeah,
it's a fantastic kind of it's a great crossroads. It's a little bit like a great big train junction.
Yeah, and there's NPC stations, right, in Thera as well, correct?
And it is the only wormhole system that has NPC stations. That's right.
All right, excellent. Okay, so obviously we talked about the names, and obviously Eve Scout is the alliance. Signal Cartel is the player corporation, the only player corporation in the alliance. That's correct, right?
Yeah, that's correct. The way that came about was these independent explorers that were scanning down the Thera connections decided, hey, maybe we should form our own corp, and approached Johnny Splunk about it. He liked the idea, but he didn't want to do a day-to-day operations of a corporation, so they set up Signal Cartel, and then Minxie became our first CEO.
Okay, now the thing is, I noticed that your ticker is 1420 or 1420, and not SIG C or something like that. So where did that come from?
Well, 1420 is related to the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or the SETI program, which folks have probably heard
Okay.
of. 1420 is the hydrogen line frequency that they like to listen to, believing that being the most abundant gas in the universe, that any intelligent civilization would realize this, and if they wanted to send out a signal about themselves, then this might be the frequency that they use. So that is why I guess we call ourselves Signal, is it's based upon listening for the signal on that frequency.
Okay, you've actually just given me a great segue there, because we're talking about intelligent life. And unfortunately, as Eve pilots, myself included, not always the most intelligent, and sometimes we lose our probes, sometimes we get lost. And that brings us on nicely onto Eve Scout Rescue. So do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. Alder, you want to dive into the rescue?
Yeah, so the rescue program sits as a free service available to anyone in New Eden. If you're in a wormhole system and you've lost your probes, or you were disconnected, you threw them too far away and you couldn't figure out how to get them back, or downtime rolled through, or you've been rolled out of another hole and you just don't have any scanning equipment, the Corp provides a service where what we've done is placed small secure containers, and I think we're at 92% of wormhole space.
We're over 90%, yeah.
Wow,
Something like
okay,
that.
yeah.
So that's 1,900 odd systems or more. And in those containers, we have a set of probes, we have a probe launcher, if you're able to use your own mobile depot to refit. And with the arrival of filaments, we've started to stock our caches with filaments, so that you've got multiple ways back out. And in the event that none of these,
smart idea.
yeah, and in the event that
Yeah.
none of these approaches will work for you, we will come in and we'll either come direct to you and get you out if you know the way in, and if you don't, we will find you. We have over 300 pilots, always in wormhole space or poking their heads in and out, and we've chased down great big ships in wormhole space. We've chased down tiny little ships in wormhole space and brought them back out.
Okay, so yeah, everyone is included then. That's the motto there. So
That's right.
I mean, obviously, yeah, there you talked about the players. So this is a good time for me to come on to, what kind of players do you have that belong to Signal Cartel? Are they new players, or is it kind of a mix of other players as well?
I mean, I'd say it's a mix. What about you, Katia?
Yeah, it's a definite mix. Yeah, we've got veterans and new players alike. We get a continual flow of new players. I mean, just about daily. We got new folks coming in.
Well, it's a great way to learn about scanning, exploring, how nullsec works, what bubbles are, and all the traps that are going to get you in the world of EVE Online. You kind of get introduced to them through exploring, right?
You do,
sure.
and even more established or experienced players that have never done wide-ranging roams or have only focused on, say, industry or station trading. They have lots of embedded SP, but they don't have any in-game experience. Sure, come show up. And we'll teach you.
Okay, so it's worth mentioning as well that obviously, because you guys are completely neutral, and we'll come on to your Corp credo in a sec, because you guys are completely neutral, there's no reason why someone can't put an alt into Eve Scout. So, they got their main, which is their nullsec PvP, pew pew tunes and stuff. They go, I can also be a good guy and I can help out a little bit, and so therefore they can pop an alt in, and that's totally okay, right?
Yes, we have a pretty strict adherence to a firewall between characters, between alts.
Yeah.
Which again goes right back to
conduct.
Yeah, it goes back to the importance of neutrality and how central neutrality is to Signal Cartel. You could maybe be out in Pandemic Horde and have an alt in the Corp. We have an expectation of a firewall between those two.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, obviously that's kind of part of the Corp credo. Do you want to go a little bit more into detail as to kind of how you conduct yourselves as an alliance, so players can know what to expect when they join you guys?
Sure. Or go ahead, Alder.
No, sure. Well, by signing up to Signal Cartel, it's a pretty simple way to do it. There's an online form, and we ask you two questions really, and it goes back to the core of the Corp. What is it about exploration that really excites you? And why do you enjoy it, or why do you want to try it? And then we ask the question about our Corp credo, and our Corp credo centers on two main things: service and neutrality, and those are two pillars that the entire culture of Signal Cartel is built upon. So friendly, willing to share any public knowledge publicly, and neutral, no tears. If you get knocked down, pick yourself back up and head back out there. It's one of the reasons
It's Eve, stuff happens.
Things happen. You will be hunted, which in a way is your content. You get to be chased. You get to elude the hunters. You get to rescue people. You get to go into dangerous places and come back out. And at the same time, you're providing content to the other players. So it's there you go. It's synergistic, I guess.
Yeah, so you're like proper secret squirrel stuff, essentially. Yeah, just sneak around, do what you need to do, and try and get out alive. And and that obviously is content as well. Even I have it as an FC, where I've taken roams out and we're completely outnumbered, and the fleet becomes all about just trying to get ourselves out alive, and that in itself, can be very good gameplay. I absolutely agree with that. Okay, so we're going to talk about some other stuff as well, because obviously you guys are not just limited to that. I spotted something that I wasn't even aware of, which was Triptychs. So that's basically like, vacation trips in New Eden, right? So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. This was actually the brainchild of our first CEO, Minxie. And again, and we may not have mentioned this yet, but one of our mottos in the Corp is be the content you wish to see. And one of the things that she wanted to see was something like your AAA road assistance, National Geographic, go out and see the sights kind of thing. And Mark 726 of Eve Travel is really the one I think that inspired this. And so we kind of wanted to do something similar, but not exactly the same thing that Mark does. We want ours to be a little bit more concise and to the point. But yeah, it's just basically, here's the sites that you can go out and see in New Eden, and a little bit of lore behind them as well.
Okay. And then obviously I noticed as well that on your website there's like an observatory. So that kind of ties in with the Triptychs, right? That's kind of, sort of screen grabs that people have taken along the way.
It does. It kind of does. We've had that around a lot longer. We used to have our album out on Flickr, but then they started putting down some restrictions, and so now we've got it on our public Discord channel where people can submit their screenshots that they've taken of things that they've seen, during their journey along the way.
Okay, so just as well for anybody watching, obviously anything like in-game channels and Discords and stuff like that, I'm happy to put those in the description below, or even as a pinned comment. It'll be down below anyway, so you can get to that. Okay, so and the other thing as well that I noticed is recently we had the addition of storms into New Eden, and I see that you now have a storm tracker as well.
We do have a storm tracker. We track the center of the storms, which is where the most pronounced effect of the storm is at. We leave it up to you to figure out where the surrounding systems are in relation to that. But quite honestly, it's fairly easy to track. The in-game map will show you where the storms are at, but they won't tell you the type. But once you've identified the type, they move so slowly that until they cross paths, you pretty much know what that storm is. So we just check the map daily and update, where it's moved. And then if they should cross paths, we'll send out a scout to go confirm which way did the storms go.
Yeah. Can you guys affect the weather? Can you do like an Indian storm dance or something so that you can move the storm out
I imagine you want that electrical out of Delve, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. It's a real pain for Sinos and cloaks and scouts and everything. Some days it's in T5Z and it's affecting Pappy. Some days it's in 1DQ and affecting the Imperium. And both sides are pretty unhappy about it, I have to say.
Yeah, that one's been
So,
hanging
yeah,
around Dell for a while now.
yeah, it's just been incredible how long it's been bouncing around. Okay, and then I noticed as well there was, when I looked at kind of your organizational chart, that you have a division, I'm going to try and pronounce this correctly, Anoikus division?
That's
So
correct.
what's that all about?
Anoikus division. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's the Anoikus division is for established members of Signal Cartel, where they're out kind of. So it's a wormhole campus, really, in a way, if you want to think of it like that. Where they set up their station, they head out to do sewing and tending of the rescue caches. They can get engaged with rescues out there. They can do industry. They can do PI. And it's different enough from known space to kind of require its own group to handle part of it.
Okay, so essentially it's your own staging then. So you do actually have a staging area of sorts.
Of sorts, but it's kind of OPSEC internally as well. We don't talk about it within Corp. Only those.
Okay.
You have to be with Signal Cartel for a period of time. What is it? 60 days, I think, Alder, before you can.
To be
Okay, I understand
60
that.
days.
So I hope I didn't give anything away.
No.
It's 60 days.
Yeah.
You have to be fully engaged with the Corp, be a member in good standing, and they kind of head out to their secret tree fort and do cool things out there.
And your stripes, damn it, and your stripes, and then you can know about our secret
tree fort's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Our secret base. Yeah. Okay. All good stuff. Also, the other thing. Obviously, Katia, you did that whole thing with the Guinness World Record of going through all these systems, without a single combat loss. And I'm going to mention, I saw the PC Gamer article, and that really talks about your whole story there in great depth. So I'm going to link that in the description as well, because
cool. Thanks.
that is really worth reading, and we could do a whole show just about that. And unfortunately, we don't have time today. But obviously, one of the elements of that was kind of the sightseeing element. And as we do this video at the moment, which is in April 2021, we just had new landmarks come out. So obviously you guys are the explorers. Do you want to just give us a little bit of background on what these landmarks are about?
Yeah, we can try. The CCP has been doing this revamp, if you will, going around and trying to update some of the sites and their visual graphics and effects and stuff that surround them. And as part of that, just over the last 2 updates, I guess, they put out the Kriba monument in Amar in honor to that player, which is really cool to see. And then, just yesterday, they put out a few more updates, a couple of which I'll do some more shout outs. Mark 726 of Eve Travel now has an Eve Travel agency in game, which is really cool. You can go visit that site and you can see his ship, Professor Science, flying around. That's what he called his ship. So that's really cool. And they updated the Children of the Light visual effect, which I actually caught like 2 months ago before the change. And then I actually managed to catch it just today again with the updates. So you can go and check that out on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put a short clip of it right now so people can see that. But yeah, I'll link the YouTube as well. I'm gonna have so much stuff for you guys to look at. Not you guys I'm talking to, but the viewers. That I've got all these links. Obviously, you obviously got your wiki page as well, which gives you a lot of detail about Signal Cartel and how you guys operate. Then you've got YouTube videos. So yeah, there's loads and loads of stuff to link. So you guys have been so helpful, Aldar and Katia, in supplying me with so much material. That's been absolutely great. So okay, I think I've kind of covered the kind of the main things of what Eve Scout does, stroke Signal Cartel. We know kind of some of the areas that you guys are involved in. Is there anything that I missed? Is there anything in particular that you want to bring up as well?
There is one thing I wanted to make sure that folks understand. A lot of times they think that we're pacifists, that we have this reputation of being pacifist, and that's actually not true. There are those in Corp that take that stance, and Katia, the character that I played, eventually took that stance, where she kind of became a pacifist during my journey. But we do defend ourselves. And there have been many surprises when they've lost their ships to our scouts. So we're not pacifist. We will fight back. We just won't start aggression. That's the key.
Right. And
Yeah.
we
You
have,
should change your logo to a hedgehog.
yeah,
You should
I
be
guess,
hedgehogs, right?
yeah, every so often every so often you get a little poke, but I mean,
Yeah.
it is one of the things on applications where it's, well, I don't do PvP, and the answer is, well, but it's a PvP game. You may wind up doing it
Yeah,
one
you
way or the
can't
other.
really escape it.
It,
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
going to do it for us, so long as we don't initiate the aggression, if someone tries to take you out of your ship, you're allowed to try to remove them from theirs first.
Okay, brilliant. And also, one last thing, you guys do fleets as well, though, right? There, you do some like PvE stuff as well.
Yep, we do run PvE fleets, kind of pretty much on a weekly basis. Wouldn't you say, Aldar? It's getting pretty
More or less,
consistent.
like you said earlier, a lot of the content in the Corp, well, just about all the content really is player-driven or member-driven. So we do have a fleet division where we have ships and SRP and expertise kind of base, but a regular line member can just throw up the flag and say, I'd like to do a fleet. Our fleet guys will help out, kind of give them a little bit of pointers, and then off they go. I think we ended a war once by putting together what we call Hug Fleet, and we went out. We basically shot fireworks at them and snowballs, and after that, the war ended. So, but that was just something that was put together on a whim by one of our players,
Yep.
and
That's
off
a true
they went,
story.
and no war the next day.
Okay, well, I think we have to end it on that That is just the perfect ending. It's like, yeah, we ended a fight with snowballs and fireworks. I mean, that's pretty outstanding. So yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I think I've asked all the questions that needed to be asked. So hopefully, you guys have covered everything that's you wanted to impart. And if that's the case, then we'll wrap up there. If that's all right.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, Katia and Aldar, thank you very much for coming on. I'm very much looking forward to publishing this and allowing people to get to know a little bit more about what you do, because like I said at the very beginning of this video, you do have a very unique play style and a very unique alliance. So I wish you all the best.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. So a big thank you to my two guests, Katia and Aldar. I hope you found that as interesting as I did. I'm amazed by Eve Scout and the number of different roles that they provide within New Eden, and some very unique roles as well. And I know for one that, especially when I've been FCing kind of small gang stuff, the Thera wormhole bookmarks have just been incredible and so useful. And yeah, so hopefully you'll go and check them out. And if you're a new player, then I consider them to be a very good place to learn new skills. And if you want something to do with an alt and you want to be the good guy and kind of like help other players, then I could highly recommend checking out Eve Scout Enclave. So that's a wrap from me. As usual, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. Please do talk in the comments. I like it when you guys talk, and it gives me a chance to talk back to you. And you can always join my Discord if you want to talk about other stuff, especially the war updates, etc. And obviously do mention me in your Corp Discord and your Alliance Discords as well, and help the channel grow. All right, that's all from me for this episode. I will see you soon. Bye.